Today we're talking about you, and maybe one of the toughest issues that you and I have to overcome, and that's losing weight. I mean, our society is so obese, so overweight, and it makes people unhappy. It's made me unhappy, and I've kind of shined it on all these years, and I just decided, I got a wake-up call. I went to the doctor's office a couple of months ago and had my annual physical, and he said, "Coach, you're beautiful. You're in great shape." Well, I didn't tell you this, Abby, but I went and had my knees, a little problem with my knees like a year ago, and the guy, that's Abby Carruthers, everybody. Say hi to Abby. How are you, Abby?
Hi.
So you're a hypnotherapist.
Yes.
So do you want to hear a story about my knees?
Yeah, I'm on the edge of my seat right now.
So I go and I had a little, I don't know, back issues anyway. So he said, your knees are like 18-year-old kid. He said, I've never seen knees like that. And then he says, I've never seen his stomach like that either. No. So anyway, Abby Carruthers, you are like famous in this community. You're a hypnotherapist, and you have a cute little South African accent, which we're working on. Now, I like it.
Thanks. Oh, yeah. It's
Say hockey.
Hockey.
So looking at, we get to spend the whole hour today talking about a subject that is so dear to me, so important to our community. It's amazing. I see so many people so overweight. I know they're miserable. We have a mutual friend that we have coffee with that literally started crying last week, right? She teared up. We won't mention her name. It's a private matter for most people.
Yeah.
And who are you going to share it with?
Right.
Your spouse doesn't care. Well, your spouse actually does care. I mean, I wonder how many marriages are broken up because the other person goes, "Ugh, you're fat. I don't want to do anything with you."
And what's interesting is that there's a portion of marriages that are broken up for that reason, but there's also a portion of marriages that are broken up because that person thinks that that's what their spouse thinks about them. There are so many women and men that I have who come to my program who they understand that the problem is them, that their spouse loves them exactly the way that they are, but because of the way that they feel about themselves, their relationship is deteriorated. They don't want to have sex anymore because they feel gross when they take off their clothes.
Yeah.
They can't bear the thought of someone else touching them because of what they might be thinking about their bodies, when that's not true.
I never felt that way, actually. I always felt like a little naked Santa Claus, but that's just me. So we're going to get into this. The show is called The Business of Life. Talking to Abby Carruthers today. We're going to get into a lot of areas, but the spiritual, the physical, the mental, and the emotional. And we're going to dive into all those areas. And something that you said to me a couple of weeks ago that I've been sharing with my wife that really got me, and that is that all my life I was focused on food. I grew up so poor. We never had food in the refrigerator, never had food in the cabinets. And so when I had a meal, it was like I always emotionally, mentally thought that's it. That's my last meal. I better overeat. I better get as much food in the tank because I don't know when I'm going to get another meal. So that stayed with me.
Yeah.
And then I was an athlete, and athletes eat a lot because I played football, baseball, basketball. We burn up a lot of. I was always hungry.
Yeah.
So as a kid, I always had jobs, and I would go to fast food restaurants and overeat. And as a young man, I was always well built, but when I got to a certain age, there it started to creep, the weight. And then I thought, I can get it off, right? No. And I've been working out all my life. It's not about working out. It's about what I'm putting in the tank. So I'm glad you're with me today on the show we call The Business of Life at KHTS AM 1220, one of the great radio stations in the country. If you want to see what our show looks like, go on YouTube and just put in The Business Life for Coach Ron Tunick, and you can see what we look like. You're also listening, a lot of you are listening on hometownstation.com. I will open up the microphones. If you want to call in 298-5487, 298-5487. I want to open them up after 2:30. If you want to call in 298-5487, and you can ask Abby some questions if you've got some concerns, or ask me. I'm a business coach. I can't help you with your weight. That's why Abby's helping me. So let's get into it. So you're hypnotherapy. people don't understand that either. I didn't understand it
Right.
until years ago, because I actually taught myself to meditate. So what is hypnotherapy? What is that?
That's such a great question. Because of everything that's in the TVs and the movies, so many people have just a gross misunderstanding of what hypnosis and hypnotherapy is. So just before we kind of dive into hypnosis and hypnotherapy, can we talk a little bit about the mind and how the mind works and why we use
Oh, absolutely.
hypnotherapy?
I
Okay.
wish I had like a little watch. So no,
And
do you do that?
Deep sleep. With kids, I use a pendulum.
You do?
Yeah, it's called eye
Oh my
fascination.
God,
So
really?
what happens when they're staring at, you could do it with a light, you could do it with a lighted pen, you
No
can do it with a
kidding.
pendulum, with a watch. You're just basically tiring the eyes and overloading the mind. Yeah.
So is being hypnotized, is it like that 2 minutes before you wake up in the morning where you're half asleep and half, it's
Bingo.
Bingo.
Bingo. So we're in and out of
Smarter
hypnosis.
than I look.
You're so smart. We're in and out of hypnosis all day long. So anytime you're driving down the freeway and you miss your exit, that is a state of hypnosis. It's environmental hypnosis.
Wow.
Yes.
You know what's scary? I have driven down the road, and 10 minutes later I'm going, holy crap, where have I been?
Yep. Where am I and how did I get
That's
here?
nuts. So that's hypnosis.
That is hypnosis.
So how does the mind work?
So basically, we have two parts in the mind, right? So you've got your conscious mind, and then you have your subconscious or your unconscious part
Now,
of
this
your
is
mind.
stuff in my book. Did you read my book?
Not yet. You haven't given it to me.
I'm going to give it to you today,
Okay.
the thinking room. But this is stuff I talk about.
Yes, exactly.
Go.
Yes. So the conscious mind makes up about 12%. You know, you've heard the scientists say we use about 11.9% of our minds. And that's the conscious part. You know, that's the thinking part. Right now, we're using our conscious minds. We're awake, we're communicating, logic, reason, analyzing, decision making, and willpower. All in our conscious. The rest of it, the 88%, that is all our subconscious. We call it subconscious in the hypno world. Scientists refer to it as the unconscious. But the reason we call it subconscious is because you're not unconscious. You're still using it while you're conscious. So your subconscious houses all your beliefs, your fears, your associations, your behaviors, you know. So
Every reference point, everything
Everything.
that's ever happened to you in
Since
your
birth.
life is buried.
Yes.
And in my book, The Thinking Room, I call it files. So
Exactly.
some people might have 1,000 files, 10,000. So if your files are damaged, like my eating file was damaged, right?
most people's are, unfortunately, but most people's are. But exactly, that's exactly what happened. Your program or your file, the operating system has a glitch in it, right?
Yeah.
Or used to.
Yeah,
You know, you're
not
using,
anymore.
You're using self-hypnosis and you're using some cognitive techniques to override those files, right? To overwrite them. Exactly. So everything that we do, in life is referenced by our programming, is referenced by our subconscious mind. And the majority of our programming is formed before the age of 13 years old. You know, and that's when logic and reason starts to come in and starts to filter out some of that information. So then we develop a critical mind. It's like a gateway. It's the guardian to the subconscious. It separates the conscious from the subconscious. That's why people are like, yeah, I want to do something. It sounds like a good idea. I made a decision about it. I've analyzed it, and it seems like it's the best thing for me. Yet, why can't I implement this behavior in my life? Well, it's because this guardian, this critical mind, filters everything out. Once we turn, after about the age of 15, starts filtering everything out, and anything that does not correlate with subconscious programming just gets kicked back out again. I'm sorry. That doesn't have a reference point down here in the subconscious mind world, so that we disagree. We're kicking that out. With hypnosis, what happens is the critical mind kind of gets shut down, kind of goes on a break. So that's why you don't have to be asleep. That's why you don't have to be unconscious. You can be wide awake, but if you're just at the point where the critical mind has shut down, we can start sneaking into the subconscious mind and start desensitizing some of those old programs.
Her name, Abby Carruthers. Give out phone numbers. People are driving. Most people listen to us driving their car.
Okay.
Some people are listening online at hometownstation.com. Fabulous station, KHTS AM 1220. Also, we have an app. We have a great app. Go to the App Store and have you download the app?
I sure do. I have it on my
Great app.
phone.
It's a great app. So we're talking about you today. Talking about helping you understand that you can change literally in a minute. I talk about this in my workshops. Your want to has to be bigger than your have to. if you have to change, like when I went and had my annual physical and he said, Coach, you got high blood sugar, you're a diabetic. I'm thinking, no way, doc, I'm going to be a diabetic. There's no way. I'm more disciplined. I got so angry with myself that I would allow myself to get to this point. And I said, I'm better than this. And so learning, how do we learn how to do the self-talk? How do we learn how? I truly, I have another show called The Mentor Show, so go to iTunes or SoundCloud, you can listen to my mentor show. But you're a mentor, and I believe in mentors, and I believe that people really, really need mentors. So I'm a big supporter of what you're doing, because you're changing lives. You're really changing lives. In the last couple months, your people have lost 285 pounds. That's incredible.
Right?
Yeah.
They're doing awesome.
How many men versus women?
You know, we have 3 men versus 24 women.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you look at breaking the cycle, breaking the change, where do you start? When you sit down with somebody in the very first session, are you listening to their story? What give us kind of pull the curtain back and tell us how it all works.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing that we have to know is we have to know where they're coming from. You know, we have to know where they've been, what their associations with weight loss are, why.
I've been at fast food restaurants.
Right, maybe. So we ask, you know, everybody just gets to share kind of a little bit about their story. And because weight loss is such an intimate thing, and because it is more of a therapeutic thing, we just have 4 people per group, you know, so we really get some time to really dig into each person's situation and find out what's going on. We want to start with where they're starting, because as soon as you give someone a program, the first thing that goes on in their mind is, you don't know me. You don't know me. You don't know what I've been through. You don't know my story. Who gives you the right to tell me I have to cut out chocolate? You don't know how chocolate is my lifeline right now, you know, and so we can't go ahead and just kind of implement some strategies before we even know what's going on with our students, you know. So yeah, we have to find out where they are and what they're going through and what their current standard of living is. That's where we start.
I'm not cutting out chocolate either. You know, you can enjoy everything, but you have to understand its relationship to your life, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
so everything has a relationship. So it doesn't mean you have to cut out anything, but you know, you have to be able to. When you're overweight, you're probably not managing yourself properly.
Exactly.
So managing oneself requires technique, and this is why I'm such a big proponent of finding a coach, the right coach. I mean, there's a lot of life coaches out there that can't even coach themselves. So you have to find somebody that's been to the mountaintop. You know, I'm a business coach, so I've done pretty well in my life. I've been to the mountaintop. I live at the mountaintop. And when you look at creating the techniques for winning, for losing weight, it is, right? It's technique oriented.
Yes, absolutely.
And then what else?
Well, so it's funny that you should say that, because I scream from the mountaintop, because I am the quintessential person. I mean, yeah, I might still be younger than a lot of the students that I work with.
You don't look that young.
Thanks, Coach.
I have to be real nice when I'm interviewing ladies now. I can't say anything other than you're pleasant.
You're pleasant. You don't look too old. You don't look too young.
No,
you don't look
I have
too
to just say you're pleasant, because
you're
I'll
nice.
get into trouble. No, I will absolutely get into
Right,
trouble.
exactly.
But losing well, let's back up for a second. So the first thing you do is get their history.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then what?
Then, so we get their history, and then we talk about the science. So we talk about the science of weight loss, because so many people have done the programs, right? They've counted their calories, they've bought the packaged meals, they've worked on the challenge, they've followed the meal plans. But so many of them have had to do it blindly, because people don't sit down and say, look, this is what's happening in your body when you overeat and carbs.
Oh, this is a sore subject. Can we wait till the next segment? Because
Absolutely.
this really, I'm going to
Absolutely.
start getting on a rant here. I mean, if all of these, and I don't want to mention any names, but if all these marketeers programs really worked, would 60+% of the population be overweight or obese? No. So I don't, and I know this is going to hurt a lot of people's feelings. I don't know if they really want you to lose weight, because they want you to buy their product. Well, so if you don't lose weight, you keep buying their product. They keep selling you the same old.
Well, it's fascinating because I was looking at, you gave me some homework the first time we talked, and that's to research really the top weight loss programs that are out there, and I'm researching them, and I'm horrified to find horrified that the top 10 weight loss programs are based on making you dependent upon them, either because they created a system that you cannot follow unless you buy into their software, or because they created a packaged process that you have to sign up for their food, or because they're not teaching you the tools and techniques. They're not teaching you the science. They're not getting or they're medicating you.
They're not getting to the core of the issue, which is the subconscious.
Absolutely.
They're not, because their people aren't trained. Their people are trained to sell you $400 worth of frozen food or whatever they're doing, right? Prepackaged food.
Right,
it probably has a lot of salt in it.
Yes, and
it's preservatives.
I have a very strong opinion about a lot of different things.
I bet you do.
But I'm not one to bash any products or programs because I actually believe that they all work.
Right.
They all work.
Temporarily.
You lose weight on all of them.
Temporarily. What works is putting new information into a new file.
Yes. Developing new habits and behaviors, which you can do consistently over time.
For a lifetime.
For the rest of your life, independently of anyone. Independently of me or you.
Yeah.
Or anybody.
Her name is Abby Carruthers, right?
Yes.
So throw your phone number out.
Oh, sure.
I mean,
absolutely.
I'd be shocked if anybody calls you, but go ahead. Well, they're driving their car.
Absolutely. 818-297-0267.
297
0267
in the 818. Our show brought to you by Lisa's Tax Service. So Lisa is able to represent you against the IRS.
That's awesome.
So that's big. You got to be, you got to be smart. Lisa's Tax Service, incredible lady. If you're having some issues with accounting, if you're having issues with paying your taxes, call. You can find her number. Just Google Lisa's Tax Service. You'll find her. Also, our show is brought to you by Valencia Movers. I'm telling you, Abby, if you are ever going to move, there's only one moving company, and that's Valencia Movers. Unbelievable. Big shout out to you, Bob Green. Incredible. Been in business here in town for like 30+ years. So when we come back from a little break, we're going to get into the social, well, let's get into really how change takes place. Mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional. And it's the emotional part that breaks us all down. It's the emotional part that gets us back to like, oh God, you know what, I'm going to cheat today, but I'll start tomorrow, right? I mean, how many times have I said that to myself? So let's get into how we can manage these 4 areas that run our life for everything.
Yeah.
But if you're 30 or 40 or 50 pounds, have you ever lifted a 20-pound weight? It's pretty
very
serious.
Heavy.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm 20 pounds overweight. So I would love to, well, with your help, I'm going to lose 20 pounds. I've already lost 12, so I've got 20 more to go.
Yeah.
The show is called The Business of Life. We're excited that you're tuning in. You can listen on Hometown Station or go to the App Store and just type in KHTS AM 1220. It's a great app. I mean, it's an absolute. There's some great shows on this radio station right here in Southern California. We're going to come right back and we're going to get into how you're going to manage the process, how you're going to build a new file for yourself, and you can do it. Look, if the old coach can do what I've done, lose 12 weights, if I can, where Abby's helped me realize that my focus was in the wrong place, we can help you too. We'll be right back on the show we call The Business of Life. I'm your host, Coach Ron Tunick.